Hello, species value nature system. Body dumping spots. This is about recorded proven reality juxtaposed tied to more proven criminal recorded criminality, regardless of what was recorded proven if it was true or not. This is regarding drive-through effect, where, for example, where the branches are being conceived as a drive-through. I don't have time to do it as a cartoon. We don't have time. The species value nature system. It's not a joke when I say species value nature system. It has an identity of value that is self-generating. Every moment, we are science tactical ulterior. We are quality of fact treatment nature with branches. Everything they're pretending to be against. Everyone's naturally against it. They're furthering it because their faith, their use of their defenses of misprision relationships to databases, to the ground valued, lied about. You can't defend identities of positive that are going to be the only ones that voice. That's why they're using, when they say, what's the algorithm? They're communicating with agencies recorded originally and still criminally foreign influenced. But no one's following this line of reasoning because they're defending misprision, the branches themselves, individually, grouped, and together. Our identity of value is three natures of volume. As an individual nature of volume, a group nature of volume, and as one altogether. Now, see, that's overall. That's debatable. But the proofs aren't being allowed demonstrated because we have offensive evidence rackets that start with grammar school. There's a former Mayor Gold. I never had a verbal conversation with my life. He's recorded, confessed to all crimes with a Yellow family, a Kerr family. Sequence shifts, names forging and switching too. These are courts that forge and switch names because their crime rolls with the theft of the identity of means to ground counters to what is only allowing grounded liars, pretending other, originally and still. You can't tell about American history, about the organized crime method that forced everyone to hurt everyone. If you're pretending it was about prejudice. You can't talk about the organized crime method that was about black nations that did that slavery too. Not to fight with, to say that's who's guilty together. That was entrenched here in organized crime method. These are behavior crimes, making AB exhibit, lying about our behavior. We have obligations to raise our voice in many contexts tied to the rules with gun crimes. It's illegal to prevent people with mandated law as courts pretending they wish to sue for mandated law when they're using the crime methods they're using. Pick one name in sequence then. They're sustaining these crimes through the kids. These are Washington, D.C. Trade Center manifest. Secrets out. They have agreements with private value. You can't value that and defend us at the same time. That's tied to their narratives with all kinds of child abuse branches when they justify what they left cities in. These homes were forced from before cars were built. If anyone, any color, whatever, was found out speaking about building infrastructure outside of these tactically denatured relationships to nature, these little home styles, that's it. Fear was wise. And see, that's what people are saying now. It's wise. So if we don't do it now, our obligations for real courage, which we can only have together. No one's gonna, because we have the drive-through effect. With a preventing mandated law, pretending that the judicial branch can't be told on. Pretending that, in other words, they're using they already have been originally still using statutes criminally exploiting exceptions, having that facilitated. That's what maintained them there and here, in Russia and here. We have no legal representation. We're in the same box pathology of infrastructure because we have that maintained. Every modern nation is sickly hurt to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being realized. There is each age of fact-cheap nature as value as an identity of volume, as a nature of volume's nature of relationship to itself that is self-generating. Is also the difference of what is self-generating us as temporary positive as criminal insidiousness nature, or as temporary positive as what is also lasting positive onto itself, which is the difference between how to explain what's going to cause evolution here. It's fruits and gifts. We have physical delusions and we have crime methods against each age of nature of correlation. So we have a Debbie Gold and her brother. 3 times I had interactions with her in life. That's it. First time was good. We didn't realize it. The second time she realized, and I don't know who she was talking with. They know this is a name game. They know you're not going to know the people's names, and they're going to know yours. And they're facilitating people valuing crime roles, hiding life progressions, whereas and how originally overt criminal enterprises, private ones valued, other nations shared police group that's forced by nature, but we have that force sick there and here since modern nations, and altogether sick. We have that force too by nature, but also it's sick, negative value nature. But see, suit and ties, counters of it, force value only one way in regards to what the Trinity about, what Allah is about. This is about where science is criminally foreign influence, fact treatment nature. That's why they're defending states and areas entrenched, um, offensively valuing religions with physical delusions, with criminal foreign influences, so they can keep the surface value of the Constitution, not let individual rights to report things, to demonstrate. They say, "Oh, that's just we're legal." The CCSU is recorded, confessed, involved with criminal uses of CNN through administrations. Heather Hansen, a whole bunch of other people recorded and confessed having been facilitated to now predicate act roles. Not even lawyer, not police form, not criminal. These are judges and people with their courts also involved crimes recorded with proven child offenders. And this is through time. But see, these are other natures of crimes that these people are involved with. Identity thefts. We have proven child offenders still with groups that are still posting fake child offender maps. This is also because of their criminal uses of the sensibilities, as the volumes of criminal and serious nature of online platforms, each one. Free Facebook is all kinds of ways having been used for crimes to get with child offenders, with the groups that are also recorded with Trade Center predicate acts, with the investigators of it. Criminal uses of VA that shows exactly what's going on wrong with the VA, exactly what's wrong with New York, with Hartford, Connecticut, this little spot between New York City, still poor. You tell that work, they're liars. They're lying to your souls. They're lying to your souls. Who to blame? You blame who's not allowing free speech. You blame the media. They're recorded. They're using Facebook. They're using all online. They're blocking my WFSB stole my identity, people. New York, let's go, because they're not following the rules. Interbranch, they're forging names. They switch names to prevent people. They're using courts as they already used courts criminally. New Britain Superior Court is highly criminal since I was a kid with with these crime methods. Then they're building lie progressions. They're using this on and off campuses. They're stating that they're cultivating roles to it. Then they stick people in that they're going to be stuck later. These are people like two Mendez police involved with all natures of drug crimes with these people. They hurt the. It takes time to grow up. They hurt people that grow up. They're making the actors that make it look like. Well, that's. I'm not talking about that kind of grow up. I'm talking about follow mandated law. That's why I'm talking about have forgiveness too, because these are recorded people using their kids to pretend passions and emotions because they had to hide their own personal crime roles, growing up with databases, even though they're interbranch families now. The crime acts roles with judges of various natures of courts, their family members, originally and still. This is no joke. Slavery. What's slavery? It's not about racism. It's about an organized crime method that was entrenched here since before America's founding. Pounding drums. The truth is native pure. That means just reveal. I think it's a joke. We have that representing us in relationship to the impositions with all the stuff with hospital to the means to facilitate connected biological threats, chemical threats. Same time the bombs going off, they want to run these drills. Drills for what? You morons. You want to ensure peace, you put something that's worth that evolves. You put the identity of our nature's values, identity of relationship to itself, that is value self-generating, more positive, temporary slash lasting positive. See, temporary slash lasting negative is standing criminal in citizen's nature. Self-valued, all victim predators, because we're in a tactical ulterior value nature system. And what's nature going to do? As the values, nature's perfect progression is going to self-generating through us. We're a quality of diffusion in relationship to this identity of relationship to itself. It's invisible but indiscernible because that's where the inventions work or not in relationship to. They're further positive or not in relationship to this. Further, we value pseudo positive. See, people need to know we have opinion. We don't have an election crime. We have other natures of election crimes, per the ones pretending to be against it too. They know there were Federal Crime Act rules, uses of Russians and of Americans, with the minority of ones they recorded used for Trade Center crimes with Hartford Hospital, with a whole bunch of people associated with the Leahy family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated federal crimes with a whole bunch of federal criminal co-defendants of former director of the FBI. Sequence shift crime rolls with them. These are drug clicks with the New Britain Superior Court, crimes with the campuses with them through time, attaching me to fake conversations. See, that's what they use the Debbie Gold for. They had her come up to me yelling at me when I was a kid one time. And then they had her do it again when she was in sixth grade. And right before they did it, they repeated a story about someone they said a Chet Casper. Well, I have never had met him. I don't know who it is. I know who it is. I met him one time. I don't know where we fought and that was set up too. See, they make fights to make it look like you knew someone before you did. They're making all. They even set up, all exceptions. They made a drama that they can't afford to have the history and now spoken about true. That's how sick fake they are when it comes down to it. When it needs to be voiced, what is simultaneously fake care and evil aggression on Hartford, Connecticut. This is about what is sickly, distinctly, and non-distinctly unrealized, blamed on other things others themselves in Wethersfield, in West Hartford, in Bloomfield, and in the River, East Hartford. There's no excuse to have a river and have poverty by it in this age of time. I just remind. It's sick. CT is stick, not branches real. The value of the Trinity is why branches are manifest value, and now as negative value nature. Political parties' divisions are negative value nature. That values more and more negative value nature unity. That's what's maintained. Reaching method. This is maintaining the outcome of shootings in areas with a lot of shootings. They wanted the gun right. You can't. How are you going to speak for guns? You got we're criminally foreign influenced states and areas. These are breaching tool roles. These are sick prisons with crimes with kids with their courts too. They're not just the courts by themselves. It's the police chief's daughter, his extended family, all invested into federal crimes against me and against my family. And with behavior crime method, no one wants to talk to a bunch of liars. They're recorded that. They're lying. There are so many ways federal crimes rolls with defendant, former director of the FBI, in his private defending capacities, perjury rackets. It reveals since how they hide it too. Trade Center, not the criminals involved, how facilitated to it, also by Bryan family. Longtime police forms of associated with on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the prison offices. These are all victims, but these are all victim predators, high psychos, high delusions wrought too at the same time. So their qualities of fact treatment nature maintained. They can't handle someone trying to report actual finite, active, progressive, and sequence shifts. They won't allow sequence shifts to be reported. They're forging names and switching names into branch. They're preventing mandated law. They're using wire crime methods that are used to maintain effectively through lifetimes our police department's criminally foreign influence tools with the Los Solitos. Who's this Joey Quest with these Weathersfield police, with this Fred Grisette, with the identity thefts, with a whole bunch of people in police forms involved with the 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford, criminally involved. They shouldn't have my name in their minds or mouths. And people associated with this Sharky's place and with these businesses downtown, because these are people who are facilitated with crimes with Russians, and I'm sick of hearing it because the American people are sick of hearing it too. Not just sick of hearing it. It's the time's up. Get out. This is what the ancient gaming system is going to do too, because we're going to use pantheism because we have no science. We have liars offensively starting fights and forcing people to say nothing. And maintenance, that's to the maintenance of states and areas left worse than forsaken. Maintained for this method that knew that this was going to sustain negative value nature progressions, action natures that people are going to have to be able to react to. And they could invest originally and still. Everyone blaming the real causes of it on other things, others themselves. When they're using the media is recorded consciously, pretending to care against racism, so they can pretend not to realize how they're exploiting, how they're maintaining sure her obfuscated instant means for the youngest kids in the cities to connect what is delicate but is sequenced true, inherent, active, progressive truth. I've seen them take it away from the youngest kids. Then they grow up, they take away from the correlation because they make it blame on race, things like that. Because they never heard truth that's not exploiting exception nature, which is another nature of truth, inherent, inseparable from every value of every subject, where physical is made further. Infinity has an identity of relationship to the ground that is inseparable from itself as a gaining nature of volume. How could it be? It's identity nature. There's physics, there's metaphysics, and there's identity. This is how I'm not a doctor, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. We have a lot. I'm not saying that I'm going to show you how knowledge each science is with physical delusions, with crime acts, crime roles, how they're maintained, motivated to it, how this is connected to their roles with systems where people call up the police all the time. These lives on corners, it's security, safety. They're using that to maintain way worse than monopolies. They're maintaining the real causes of negative value nature acts, natures and breasts. They're using these people with the prisons recorded how kept needing to hide the same finite, active, and progressive lies with them, sequential, progressive. There are all kinds of drug crime roles, formal informal, with their prisons before they were in there, regardless if they torture them in there. That in other words, we have people that pretend hate against Muslims as our MPs that facilitated crime acts, roles, criminal uses with the of Saudi families recorded, even online. They have identity thefts against me to pretend to be passion crime acts because tied to how they're using gun crime roles, poison crime roles, identity theft crime acts roles, whole bunch of nature crime act roles that is effectively, with these police forms that they get a whole bunch of other people investigated to hide the same lies with them, and they're not supposed to tell about their identity, but they're not supposed to do this. So they're using that as a truth to pretend that why would I do that? Because they're facilitated to it. Because we have criminally foreign influence branches of government, delusions raw, every modern nation at once, sickly, distinctly, and non-distinctly. We've only to deny that is the only thing that makes everything worse. Is the delay. That can't speak for the environment. That wants to speak for the environment and lock you guys down more. That wants to make excuses for itself. It needs to defend roles with positive that is not positive scores, not logic scores. They pretend people they raise their voice because they're locking everyone down into this, into roles valuing it, not told on. Because everyone needs to go about life, especially if you want to meet someone to have like a love relationship. You're not supposed to be. Women aren't going to be wanting to speak about war. Well, but what about the sickest things in life, which are forced be subject, specifically to make them forced denied be subject, and that's being exploited. For all this Heather Hansen, and see, this is foreign and domestic military. We have like some kind of like titles to what is it, sergeants and things like that. I guess they call it the brass, whatever they call it in the prisons. I have no police form. I have no criminal record. See, we have them also with fake news, and they've been spreading rumors about me since I was a kid because these are people with prison cliques associated with Washington D.C. Trade Center families tied to that, jobs with that in relationship to the value nature system that originally wasn't watching all that it was forsaken, all that was being exploited, and using that to do it, not by accident. So this is a new nature of value nature system. We're going to have one desk connects with the campus, which is going to start off with just the definitions, because we're going to see the definition of this identity of value. This identity of value is identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. Simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly onto inherent nature of volume, onto our active nature of volume, simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, simultaneously, and simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, simultaneously, onto our progressive nature of volume. That care is what's going to reveal evolution. And we're going to do this by locking down into, for a counter a counter position from the tactically denatured relationship to nature, forsaken and simultaneously denied how it is forsaken and exploited that way. How it exploited that way is where it is and how it counts. Fact, cheaping nature. Then that pretends that other by being pretends all we have to change things. We have to have justice hard. Show that it's hard. They're just liars. These are we're going to examine. CCSU through time has a whole bunch of people. They use the phrase every time they use the phrase. They have someone on there use the phrase intelligence community. They're victim predators. They're expert on Their crime rolls with Russians against Russian people, against American people at the same time. Their crime rolls against our humanity with psychology, for example. They're using the same crime methods. These are physical, they have fake mental diagnosis. They're forging names, switching names, preventing mandated law originally and still. If you're entertaining color with the law, you have physical delusions, you have criminal foreign influences. You see what I'm saying? If you're entertaining color with the law, pretending only white was about it, you have criminal foreign influences, you have physical delusions. This is the nature of care and the quality of fact cheating nature that is required to counter this nature of criminal insidiousness nature that bonded a whole bunch of other criminal insidious natures. Liars, styles of liars, methods of getting away with it, facilitated means to. Not for those ends. Although to have all those people with a whole bunch of other motivations, natures, needs, interests, to tell the same finite, to hide the same finite, active and progressive breaching lies from what was sophistication before, while being their sophistication and beyond that, originally and still. See suits and ties. I'll tell no lies. CT. Take down two sides. Fake tree. Almost see. The New York gang. So we need to have, there are more trade center predicate acts. There are more trade center crimes from Connecticut interbranch inside courts tied to what post-dated documents from leading before the trade center attack had been hand delivered on time, time-stamped in the Ninth Circuit of Manhattan, right next to the trade center. And it was on time, timestamp, but then was shown to the panel of judges right before the trade center attack as if to be timestamped late. That was proven after they post dated it from inside the court, made it look late to the judges. That then the trade center attack. We drove home, see the trade center, shock and awe, and this was people associated with that further. I didn't realize it, but there was a Scalora family already with sequence shift crime rolls and with evidence crime rolls with family members of hers, and that I also don't know, but they were pretending to know me with a house in my area, with a whole bunch of people that have that with family members of theirs that also pretend to have to my family and that I had conversation with them. I know them. They did that because I caught them with a database crime when I was a kid. Crimes against me with the same court too, with New Britain Superior Court and with these police forms and with this Dillon family. And they're using names where you don't know all the names. I don't know all the names of the men and women who were boys and girls then. See, but these are people, men and women now involved with crimes of all juxtaposed natures because they're keeping them needing to hide how they're using intercampuses, criminality on off CCSU, on off Trinity College through time. Uses of whoever becomes president, forced to rely on, everyone's forced to value what they've been doing, stacking databases with lies, lying about people's behavior, pretending that men raise their voice to women. And where there's that's why when there was an exception with that, this is also only 3 times in my life. I mean, only one time in my life, my father died. And I had to report some things tied to tied to a Dillon family who was involved with crimes with the hospital my father died at, and with people I found out after. But this was before I went to my mother. He's involved with crimes with kids and with my new and past neighbors. And these ones involved with the proven child sex offender principal too that was involved with this. And I've been trying to report it since. They've been just not letting me, they pretend, oh, get a job while they're stacking federal crime acts against you, stealing identities. This is extortion, torture. This is not just against me. They're sexually abusing little kids. They're drug crime rolls with them on and off campuses. There's a Phil Colo involved with this. He pretended to know me through time too. There's two Mendez police brothers. Interbranch federal crime acts, forging names, switching names, rolls with a whole bunch of police before and through time. Identity thefts with the house in my area, involved with a whole bunch of other people with federal criminals crimes with databases when I was growing up, and then in the trade center attack context with because they're and after that, that was proven. That led up to a 2006 Connecticut case, district court case, with defendant, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chief chairperson on RICO law, racketeering, influence to corrupt organization act. These are people involved with criminality from the transition from ACA, Organized Crime Control Act, into RICO, racketeering, influence and corrupt organization act. These are people that were involved with already entrenched, originally and still criminally foreign influence prison systems, people running that, criminally foreign influence military, criminally foreign influence everything, states and areas, interbranch, individually grouped and together. For example, in relationship to their fact treatment nature when they speak about the value of people in the cities and people stacking. This built all victim predator, lie progression, cover up natures. Now they can't, now they need to hide from correlation nature with simultaneously inherent active progressive means and sequence true. And identity too, not stolen, already facilitated into databases. These are child abuses against areas where there are a lot of shootings. That and even facilitating those with other natures of gun crimes consciously. That's also per the same ones responsible for that. It's a minority intercity. You know, this person lives in a penthouse over here. This police chief lives over here in the um, a walled off. They divided part of the area. See, these are other means to keep states and areas, the identity of the ground, its relationship to our value of fact treatment nature as criminal and citizens nature of volume. And we're again in how we're expanding nature of volume. So this is the news. The news has been lying to you. The news was facilitated for the crime method to make them pretend to be against election crimes, but they were already recorded for them. WFSB and Fox Connecticut News recorded confessed crimes with Russians, with police forms foreign and domestic. The Russians also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated this with their roles with not just with the Russian lady. That was I was talking about a Club Blue and people associated with a Leg Rose Cafe per Enzo Fienzo also recorded, confessed, involved with WFSB with crimes with people interbranch associated with on off town line drive, on off businesses there. These are also Pakistani people recorded, confessed, involved with drug crimes, database crimes, evidence crimes, physical delusions, criminal uses of kids, juxtaposed roles of all kind of natures of crimes. They're pretending vetting, whatever. These are VA crime roles too, facilitated with this Leahy family, all a bunch of natures of crimes with them. And with the New Britain Superior Court, we have standing prosecutors. They're ill, originally and still. See, we have them involved with the forging names, switching names, criminal uses of lawyers at the same time, states attorneys' offices. They were using the databases criminally. This is what our American history is about, how they used the databases criminally, how they kept nations individually grouped and together, sick fakes. Now CT breaks. Find the seed. Please read. Attend. Campus Marcy is called.